Terrific, and I'm live. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning into this post. It's a quick one about creativity, or what I call making magic, and I'm calling it the fact that fitting in to any situation is the easiest thing you can do. It's like falling; it's as easy as falling off a log. However, the whole goal of life is to create something magical, something constructive, and something positive for all of us. I'll start off by asking you, if you can, if you see this post on my YouTube channel or on my Rumble channel, please like it. It's important because if you are of like mind to myself, it brings posts like this up for other people to see, which is really a way. I don't think I'm being too cute by suggesting this. It's really a way of making sure that your views, or views which are simpatico to your view of life, are shared abroad. So this is about the fact that creating value is the whole goal of life. But fitting in is the easiest thing to do. Why? Because you don't have to bust a gut. All you need to do is to follow the old memes, the old tropes, the old stereotypes, the old prejudices, the old established values of your tribe, your silo, your community, and go along with the flow. It's a little bit like swimming with the current. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is to try and stay afloat. The current will carry you along. However, if we look at the times we've had over the last couple of years, it is so clear that the old ways that our societies everywhere in the world, from Africa through to Europe, through to Asia, through the Americas, through Australia, through Russia and other parts, all the old ways don't work anymore. And the spanner in the works was this so-called pandemic, which threw a curveball to all of us. That is when we suddenly discovered how easy it was for us to lose our bodily sovereignty, to have our free speech curtailed and censored, for us to start facing the very real possibility of food shortages, fuel shortages, a standard of living that none of us can afford except for a very small elite at the top of society. So we know that we can't continue to just fit in and go with the flow. We need to start creating. So the point about creating is that for the first time, it puts you, not your silo, your tribe, your society, your history in charge. It means that you're starting with almost a blank sheet of paper on which you can draw any portrait, any landscape, any images that you feel you want to create. In a sense, it is a way of saying that creating is the way in which you show your purpose for existing in this world, rather than just being a blank sheet of paper that everybody else stamps their impressions and their attitudes and beliefs on. So, but of course, to be in charge of your own life is tough. It's easy to fit in. Creating is tough. And why is it tough? I've discovered that trying to create the future I feel that we as human beings in the world deserve is very difficult. It's difficult because the first step in creativity is visualization. Now, at the first, in this instance, I want to share with you a famous quote from one of my favorite poets everywhere. His name is Langston Hughes. He was born 1901 in Missouri in the United States of America. He became famous for a school of poetry called jazz poetry, and he was one of the leaders of the so-called Harlem Renaissance. Langston said famously that this was the time when the Negro came in vogue in America. Later on, it was changed to this is the time when Harlem came in vogue. But he was a beautiful innovator. And this is a line from one of his most popular poems. He said, "Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly." Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. So, what Langston is basically saying is that what we visualize is what we produce. Elsewhere, it said that as above, so below. In Buddhism, they say that as within, so without, in that your life state is reflected perfectly in the environment around you. So, if you want your environment to be a certain way, you really must master the life condition, the thought forms that you are putting out there, because they will be projected as a movie projects a flick onto a cinema screen. Now, the moment you start visualizing the stuff that you want, what happens? Absolutely every contrary thought in your mind and body pops its head up to interfere. Sometimes you feel, I want too much. I don't deserve to have this. You feel, oh, well, other people can have this, but I couldn't possibly. You feel, well, are you crazy? Well, look at your past. You never had this sort of thing before. What on earth makes you think that it's possible? Or you think to yourself that, and this is the most insidious one of all, I would say that a lot of people secretly feel they're not good enough for the aspirations that they hold. Now, of course, if you're wanting something and thinking secretly in the background that you either don't deserve or are not good enough for what it is that you aspire to, it's a little bit like having your foot on the accelerator. On the one hand, you're revving up that engine till it redlines. But then the thought that you're not good enough or undeserving of it is a bit like not only having your foot on the foot brake, but you're also jacking up the handbrake for good measure. What happens? The car slows right down. The engine redlines. The engine gets overworked. It might even get burnt out, and you don't go anywhere. So the whole process of doing what Langston says, holding fast to your dreams, brings up all the negativity in your own life. And it is that struggle to deplete the negativity that's popping up in your life. Or rather, it's actually the way it works is that you let it wash over you. You don't hold on to it. When it pops up, you know that it's something that's there. It's part of the yin, the yang of life. You let it pass on by. You don't hold on to it like an anchor, which is anchored to the center of your, let it pass by so that you can keep your eyes on the dream. And this process leads to a state of inner reformation. And that is how we can create a world outside that reflects our new state, which is inside. This is the most important thing. Under our present circumstances, I think it's important to notice a couple of things. One, the World Health Organization is coming up with something called a pandemic treaty. This thing caused me absolute shivers. Basically, what it will do is that on the announcement that something is a pandemic, all control of your country, regardless of its constitution, regardless of its Bill of Rights, regardless of its human rights, in the United Kingdom, regardless almost of the most fundamental document in this country's history, Magna Carta, all of those would be set aside pending the determination of the World Health Organization, which is officialed or peopled by people whose name, apart from the boss, you've never heard of. who have never been anywhere near a polling booth to campaign for your votes. Basically, a bunch of unelected bureaucrats who will be acting, I guarantee you, to the tune of their principal sponsors. I don't want to go in there because I don't want my video to be censored. This is a crushing threat to humanity. Because when you face this sort of thing, first thing that pops up is fear and anxiety. It is one of those things that we have to visualize beyond into the kind of world that we want to see in the future. I've tried it, and I'll tell you what happens. What happens is a sense of freedom you never believed you could ever have. That sense of freedom is not an irresponsible sense of freedom. It doesn't stop you recognizing the fact that you have to act within the laws of your society. You have to act within the laws of human decency. You have to act within the laws of human respect and dignity. Of course, those laws, they're natural laws. I didn't make them. You didn't make them. They have always existed. We follow those laws. But the freedom you start to exhibit and feel when you are strongly focused on Langston's dream or your creation is absolutely amazing. Actually, that is where you find things like patience. Now, patience derives from a quiet confidence that if you stick in there, you're going to get what you want. It's the only reason a person can be patient. You only lose your rag if basically you're terrified. You're terrified that you can't have what you want. That's why children throw tantrums, chuck themselves on the floor, bang, I've seen them in supermarkets, bang on the floor of the supermarket, which will hurt them more and pick up more germs than actually achieve their result. It's because in that moment, they are being thwarted. They are afraid that they can't have the lollipop, the extra pack of Smarties, the thingy that the doctors told their parents your child shouldn't be eating in the kind of quantities they may have been eating in the past. So the child throws a tantrum because of fear. We as adult, responsible human beings don't have to behave like that. We have the creative capacity to chart the kind of future that we want. Now, I've just told the story in the context of the pandemic treaty, which the World Health Organization is planning to lay on top of us. But this applies to absolutely every area of our lives. And I've been reading a little bit about this, and it is said that the beauty of genus Homo sapiens, that's you and me, is that we are capable of enormous creativity, so long as our creativity isn't dulled down by the poisons that we ingest and the overwhelming onslaught of the media and external circumstances, entertainment, Hollywood, all those things which are slowly but surely narrowing our focus of attention onto a point outside of ourselves. The creativity only happens when you focus on the creativity, the spiritual strength that you have within your life. Africa needs this so that it can think its way out of the box. Africa can't continue to copy what the Europeans have done. Well, we've all seen the latter consequences of what happens in Europe. Africa can't follow the economic models that were set by Europe. Fiat currencies are absolutely in trouble. It is quite likely that we may all be heading towards some kind of programmable central bank digital currency, which can censor what we spend money on, when we spend it on, and be used to judge what kind of person we are in terms of social credit and so on and so forth. These are all challenges to come. There is no better time for us to start being creative, to start wanting to and actively creating the kind of world we need and want to see for the future. It's not easy. But to be honest, ask yourself, what was worth having that was easy? Your degrees weren't, your other qualifications weren't, the business that you may be running wasn't easy to run, to make it successful. The relationship that you have that you enjoy now wasn't acquired without growth, development, effort on your part. Anything that is worth having requires work. The alternative to that is just to sit back and be told by somebody else, sitting at the WHO, for example, about your bodily sovereignty in relation to a pandemic unknown, which will surely be coming along because they have a knack of telling you what they're going to do to you. It, it's coming. It's coming over the horizon. And as for my dear folk in Africa, we just need to slough off this old ancient shibboleth of colonialism so that we can all live our humanity. So I wish everybody the very best. And let's focus, if we can, on the positivity that lies in our lives rather than the lacks that we absolutely, every man Jack. What's the opposite of Jack? What's the feminine of Jack? Jacqueline. Okay, that'll do. Every man Jack or Jacqueline of us definitely has the negativity that lives within. Let's rise above it. Thank you so much for watching this, and see you again next time.